Well, ugh, the track you're hearing is I'm Maiden, Judas, my guide. Yeah, that's the name. So, I'll try to make a different outro intro every time. What the hell? Imagine. Thanks for watching. No, the song is amazing. Yeah, the first time I ever heard it was actually from, strangely enough, a Watch Mojo playlist. I believe it's like. What? Actually, I think it was Loudwire, not Watch Mojo. When I used to watch Loudwire. It's like a most underrated Iron Maiden tracks, I believe. Could have mistaken it for something else, but yeah, it's like maybe most underrated songs by popular bands, and somehow I came across this, even though it wasn't the track, I think. Well, it may have been. But holy crap, when I heard this, I was like, this may be one of my favourite Iron Maiden songs ever. It's only up there with Fear of the Dark. What was the other one? So that's another Somewhere in Time. That's another. The holy crap, this track is amazing. It's just got such a great feel to it. The sense of melody with the solos, incredible rhythms as well, chord progression, and the transitions as well, like the bridge. Just, yeah, it's amazing. And obviously Bruce Dickinson's vocals being incredible as well. Yeah, it's just one of the perfect Iron Maiden songs. And I wish that there were probably a few more like this, because it's just such a good style as well. It's quite different for at least Iron Maiden from what I can tell. But they're all similar sounding songs, to be fair, in future albums. But yeah, I do just love this track. It is actually underrated. I'm surprised that not many people know this one. Yeah, it's one of the best ones out there. Just epic intro, cool outro as well. And just many great solos. It has 3 solos, doesn't it? The first, middle, and then third one. The third and final. Yeah, can't praise this track enough. Or can I? That's not from me though. Next, go on to move on to the next topic. I mean, well, just what I thought Beyond can't get any weirder. Although I did say before that, I think it's one of the less controversial companies, but I think it is now sort of controversial because there's been a statement about the recent drinks that the Beyond company has added. Because as I'm a follower of a plant-based lifestyle, and I just generally give a shit about the brands that I consume regularly, because they are good brands. I'm also a bit surprised to see what I've seen here. And it's very weird, isn't it, as well. Basically, the Beyond CEO has come out saying that they've always thought they were a plant-based, not plant-based, a drink company, a beverage company at heart, and it's I've got this news post up on Reddit, and there are only a few bits that sort of make sense to me, but not really. I don't remember this part for some reason. Maybe it's market saturation. From is now competing with more affordable labels or concerns about ultra-processed food, but the truth is, once hyped, Beyond Burger just isn't as exciting as it used to be. Beyond Meat, now known as Beyond, knows that the declining sales and bankruptcy rumours were hard to miss, but it's not giving up to solution. Not giving up, a solution, a rebrand to a drink company. Yeah, the problem is it's going bankrupt because people can't fucking afford it. That was the rumour. And it didn't surprise me. Because, I go into a shop now in the UK. You can either get a plant-based burger, which can be sometimes relatively cheap. Actually, I could look at Tesco quick. So obviously I use like Tesco mainly, sadly, as the place to shop, but that's because it's the cheapest and most affordable. But let's look at burgers and sort by, let's see, dietary, vegan, where is that? They keep fucking changing things around. There's vegan, 20 of them, but some are the same. So It's 19, not 20. And they got different types of burgers here. They got like veg burgers, 4 for 1.39, which is not bad. In the McCartney quarter pounders, it's 2 for £2.50. It's lighter than the veg burgers, which is a bit weird. And there's Tesco Plant Chef, 2 burgers, same weight as the quarter pounders, £2. Spicy bean burgers, I've had these, are decent, £1.39. Beyond Burgers, £4.30. Twice the price, same size as well, just for the record. This isn't good. This is probably why people are obviously not buying it as often. Yeah, it's a bit dumb. And even then, if you compare it to other ones, there's a frozen pack of 8, which is the same size as that veg burger, same weight, rather, £2.30. That's a bargain. What else is there? Tofu Tex-Mex burger. I swear I wanted to try that and they didn't have it. That's £3. It's also a bit on the expensive side now. But there's no other burger brand here that is above the, that mark. And the cheapest Beyond Burger here is a tiny one, I think, and it's Beyond Plant Smash Patties. It's just like 2 by 75 grams, and that's £3.25. You could just get the 100-gram burgers, which are £4.30 or £4.50, depending on what you get. But yeah, it's no surprise, that they're sort of losing out in that way. Anyway, some other quotes. Beverage company in hiding, and the CEO Brown, I can't remember what his full name is, said, "I believe that introducing consumers to our brand, our foundational commitment to great taste, clean ingredients, and plant-based nutrition in less controversial applicants, we will bring back many to the centre of the plate." Yeah, I disagree with that. That's not how you're going to do it. Because this is just the same thing as, oh, well, strategy is failing, copy what someone else does. That's not how you fucking do it. Again, you've forgotten your roots. The reason why you got popular to begin with was because you made a burger that tasted like a fucking beef burger, and that was plant-based. Like, come on. That is ridiculous. How could they even forget that? Just makes no sense. So we'll deal with that, exactly. I don't know. What else is there just to say? Bringing people back isn't going to be doing this, isn't going to be doing bringing a drink, or even just changing a recipe. I think it's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take more marketing. It's going to take accountability as well. Let's not forget, you've priced these a specific way and not really justified it. I mean, I don't know what goes into a Beyond Burger to make it so expensive, but it surely can't be that much. This is the other thing. I want to bring up this. So, Aldi Plant Menu, Ultimate Burger. These are one of the most fucking delicious burgers they've ever released. 2 of them, and it's same weight, I believe. Yeah, it's 270 gram, £2.49. Absolute fucking bargain, and they're tasty. So you've already got a problem on your hands when competing companies, and these are technically competing companies, are offering almost the same taste, but for cheaper. Like, what the fuck are you doing? That's really where you're going to only find a win. That's the only place you're going to actually find more customers. It's by making it affordable. I guarantee you, if you slash the price in half, people are going to start buying it, even people who don't eat plant-based products. And that'd be an overall benefit. Even if you put them on sale briefly, you're going to draw people in, and that'll do a whole world of good. In fact, the burger was so successful you even got into McDonald's in the UK with the McPot. So what's the fucking deal here? I don't understand what you're even talking about. And, it's always been clean ingredients anyway. So that wasn't the issue. But anyway, let's go on to the last group. Was this someone else? Yeah. Yeah, it's just disappointing, as I said, with the drink stuff, that they seem to be jumping on a bandwagon here. It's not actually changing themselves to be what they call a beverage company. But it's just copying someone else. It's copying the homework. Which, can be good but can be bad. But the problem I have here is that everyone's done it. Huel's done a multivitamin drink which contains protein, which contains essential nutrients and minerals. And they were one of the first brands to do it, and even though they're kind of shit for different reasons, they've got the right idea. They know exactly what it takes, and the risks involved, and props to them. Although they've also gone the shitty drink route as well, which is extremely disappointing. And also there's like this whole marketing jargon where they think people care about electrolytes, let's put electrolytes in them. That's not the fucking issue. And as far as I know as well, from what I've seen of actual health people who actually analysed the drinks themselves of various companies, they do not do what you think they do. Essentially they're pointless, they're just literal snake oil, I think. That's basically what I've heard. And so, again, changing to a beverage company is not the best thing here. If anything, the best thing is to find more ways to use your brand. In fact, I can almost guarantee you, if you offered a good solution to the problems that people have, like for example, I love Beyond Burgers, but I also love this Beyond Sausage Bratwurst. Why don't you offer a type that's bulk? Why don't you offer a type that's bulk and cheap? That would make the most sense. You'd get people on board with it then. So I don't know what the fuck they're even thinking with this. Again, it's just absolute nonsense. Just don't be a beverage company. I'm trying to think of what else they could even do at that point. Is there maybe a type of branch they can get into? It's not food. And I'm trying to think, it's not food or drink rather. There has to be something out there. That's pretty important. I think we need to abolish that, because otherwise the brand's going to fail. But there's even a company which I have to mention because they've actually been kind of clever with it, and they've succeeded, I think. But they're called This, and This have been around for a while. And their gimmick is they used to make meat alternatives, but they've started to move towards more healthy plant-based alternatives, like, for example, types of tofu which aren't made with soy. So they make chickpea tofu, and I've tried it, it's decent. I don't like the texture very much, but it's good enough. I think if you have soy allergens, it's good for you. Obviously I can't comment on that as I'm not a soy avoidance. Intolerant. But it's good that they have those alternatives, and that's what you should do. You should look at the current demand and see where it lies. It matters where and what people are getting. But if you don't do that, you're just going to miss out. And on top of that, I have to mention that this brand also has done some interesting things as well. They've even made newer products which involve just vegetable-based things. So they're not doing a meat alternative, they're just doing vegetable based, which I think is also very interesting, and it certainly helps as well. I actually tried the recent what was it, butterbean and lentil, was it? It's a very strange combination, I admit, and also lime, I believe, but it really works. I liked it. It's a bit of a strange combination, again, it's sort of like an acquired taste sort of thing, but I liked it. I could have it again, but with right things. It kind of doesn't work with the thing I had it with, which is like rice and a black bean burger. Um, so it's one of those things you need to reinvent yourself in a way. Maybe find ways to make the Beyond Burger cheaper. So maybe you do like a weird ass combination, or as I've tried before, I've seen like ready meals that maybe try different things like that. But there has to be something different that sets them apart from the rest. Just again, what I feel that this brand did. They were a meat alternative company, but they're also making vegetable based, which is also good. Father's leap of faith. I'm done. Yeah, don't really know what else to add here. All I can hope is they do the right thing moving forward there. So yeah, let's move on. There's something I realised a while ago, but I think I forgot to say it. But we truly are running out of time, and this is in context of everything going on around the world. Basically, everything that's happening that's going wrong is all linked. I think it's most obvious in the UK, at least, when you see Keir Starmer, supposedly a left-leaning politician, used to be, because I've seen the videos, apparently manifesto, and also talking about helping with inequality, but obviously he didn't. He made it worse. And it makes me think, how much worse can things get? And it turns out it can get a lot worse, based on what I've understood of everything here. And we're talking about not just obviously like funding a genocide, but also being and causing wars. So there are definitely ways it can get far worse. Obviously in World War III we're probably already seeing, to be fair. But it's possible that it will get worse. And that's gonna backfire on us hard, depending on how that goes. And I know the intent, because at this point it's not very obvious why they do it, but I do think I know why. There's like two different things. It's like hitting two birds with one stone, essentially. And what the wars intend to do is maximise profit for billionaires and wipe out our population. That's it. Two very simple goals, but they are hard to achieve depending on where you strike, hence Iran sort of winning. And that's one of the biggest things I see coming of this. But on top of that, we also have to act fast when it comes to climate justice, and this is why I believe that we're also seeing the wars happening. So I believe there is maybe a third hidden goal, in which they're trying to tackle climate justice through reducing the human population, which then reduces the amount of transport, the amount of emissions, and even like greenhouse gases and deforestation. Yeah, that's concerning. But I don't understand why we have to do that instead of having things as we have it now, and then converting our food system. That seems like the most obvious way, but meat industries do not want to be known for climate change, and everyone knows that they are responsible for it. And that's probably why. They want to show that the data is in their favour, and that's also possibly a reason why that happens. So that's just another thing there, another reason. But it is also just a new world order, I suppose. Because it just kind of feels like that is what we're seeing, and weirdly enough, I remember this conspiracy theorist I ran into, I think it was like 3 years ago, probably 4 years ago actually, and like the latest. Because it's like the first time I ever went out to meet a friend, and I was meeting her friends and this community. I didn't know who they were. I went to a nice place. It was very weird, but this conspiracy theorist came up and said like, oh, hey, and did you hear about the New World Order? And I was just sat there thinking, oh god, here we go. And weirdly enough, the thing is, what she said was incorrect, but in a way, that is sort of the narrative that it's being put around now, and to be honest, I do start to believe it. Um, Not with what she said, which was COVID, like the COVID vaccines. Fuck off with that. Like, if it was the COVID vaccines, I'm still here. I'm not voting far right. I'm not even sucking up to billionaires. So what do you mean? No, the world order, the new world order, rather. I think it serves to put people in bad positions. So we'll see a situation where billionaires will be probably in their bunkers, although I'd advise people to stop them because that's fucking ridiculous. We do not want these cunts in a bunker. That's a nuclear war takes place. It's just evil. But that seems to be what could happen as a result of everything we're seeing now, everything that's going wrong. And I think the only way we're going to see a stable anything anymore, economy, country, whatever you call it, is through the right decisions and the people taking action. As I said, time is running out. We can't just sit by and let things happen. There are things that you need to do, and it's very much blatantly obvious now. If the UK can't get someone in who's at least got a brain in their head, and I don't know, we're probably screwed at that point. It's the same with every other country. If you let the far right protests win, which have obviously been bought for, and obviously paid for by the algorithm, that's the other thing, people don't realise how big of an influence the algorithm is, then we are becoming slightly more screwed. It's essentially letting in the worst types of propaganda, and when there's narratives like saying the wealth tax won't happen, for example, because they'll just move, that turns out to be completely false, because the wealthiest people wouldn't be able to move their assets. So they'd have to be fucking taxed. Unless they're willing to move all their assets and start from scratch, which I guarantee you they won't succeed. They'll go bankrupt. Because nobody knows who they are, nobody wants them. And also given the past, people probably won't even want to buy from them. So again, this makes no sense. We need a fucking wealth tax. And as I've calculated with billionaires and stuff, the amount of money that you can get from just taxing a single billionaire is an insane amount. And that means that we get far more benefits for the country. We can have better food systems and obviously travel systems. We can address climate inequality and even housing issues. There's so many things that money could fund. And we're not looking at it from the perspective of, oh, we're just jealous of that money. No. Honestly, with how billionaires appear, nobody's really jealous. If there's a single person on the planet who is. But people's greed takes different turns as well, so we can't discount that fact. That's why everything's so corrupt, and people may even look at that with that sort of mindset. Yeah, I don't know what else to add here. As I said, time is literally running out. I don't know how long this planet has left, to be fair. I used to think that maybe it would be a few decades, but at this point, I'm not even sure if we'll see it by 2030. It's sort of hard to know. Genuinely feels like there isn't much going on to change things. Feels like we're being screwed over by just the place that is becoming. And not just of billionaires, but also the way people behave too. Like, why are people so against something like plant-based foods? Because these are obviously good things. They serve so many benefits based on the science. And this is the thing, science speaks down on what these idiots say. Whatever you respond to it, if you say, oh, I just don't want to be told what to do and what to say, or it's like stupid, like maybe they don't want to admit they're wrong, but that's the fucking danger. Just, it's absolutely insane. I just don't fucking get it. It's just like so fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I'm also just confused about the way that people just don't act when they see these issues. There was this post here looked up on Blue Sky. I saw it earlier, I didn't read it. Don't wait 50 years for them to discover a mass grave on the grounds of a border camp concentration camp. Closed camps now abolish ICE, return children to their families. I don't want WYT people paying their respects half a century later, like they didn't know. Yeah, very much so. That's why we need action now. I think people who have the sort of power to do these sort of things, to address it, I think they certainly should be using it for good. You know, there's probably people who work in construction who could probably do something about those detention centres. Probably people who, also locksmiths who work in those, like working, stopping them, freeing people even. There's so many different ways to do it, and you also have to remember, you're stronger than them if you're opposed to it, because one thing that demonstrates is you at least have a brain out there. Whereas I don't think many people in the positions of ICE or the detention centres necessarily have a brain. That's why those systems keep failing and why everything is so unlawful. It's because they don't think, they're not smart. So anything you can do is probably an advantage over them. And that's what I mean. You know, tear down the fucking fences, tear down the walls. Also, set people free, because the amount of horrific shit that's going on because of this absolutely barbaric law, which is actually terrorism, it's ridiculous. It can't be allowed to keep happening. Just, it's so fucking dumb. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. Yeah, so time's running out. Clock is ticking. Yeah, if we don't act soon, there won't be soon after that. That's actually what I mean. So anyway, I ain't got anything else to say. Let's move on. So this is a controversial thing. For some reason, I don't see anyone sort of knocking back against this, but Gary Economics made a video recently, and you know, I think he's been on sort of downturn in some ways, but also still consistent in other ways. Obviously, supporting AI is just terrible. Also, I don't know how someone with this amount of knowledge can look at AI and think, oh yeah, this is good for the world, even though it's destroying it. Yeah, it's not good for our economy, and it's also fucking up sectors where we have a need for these things, like phones. We need the bloody RAM and storage for phones. And that's going up in price because of, I'm assuming anyway, AI data centers. Anyway, I wanted to talk about a recent video that he made called, oh fuck, what was it? I forgot the name already, Jesus. We're going to be in my feed, there is, can we be about to get wealth taxes in the UK? In which he talks about various politicians who are in Labour, sure, they're pregnant now, but they're talking about the possibility of a wealth tax, which I think is kind of a red flag in a way, because they've gone from being right-leaning to absolutely demolishing the left, and it's also been proven that's been what's happening from obviously the fact they've been donated to, and it's also been neglected in this video for some reason about how they take donations. which is also concerning. But it's also a bigger problem when Gary is now saying we should be voting Labour in the next election to get wealth taxes, which is just so fucking bizarre. What? How can you even suggest that? Genuinely. Also, I smell shit. I don't know what's happened. I do have bad bowels at the moment. I don't know what the fuck it's coming from. Essentially, that's what's being suggested. So, he's even listed the possible next Prime Ministers, which I think are all controversial in their own ways for Labour. I forgot one of the names, one of them I hadn't heard of actually. But I know two of them I've heard of. One of them know a bit more than the other. But as for other Prime Ministers, it would either be Wes Streeting, I forgot the lady's name, or Andy Burnham. And I've tried to do some research on Andy Burnham because I already know enough about Wes Streeting. He's a transphobic dickhead. I'm not sure about other positions, but I'm pretty sure he's a Keir Starmer. I don't know what you call him. I was going to call him like a toy boy, I guess, I don't know. But that really feels like what it is, what his position is, and he's basically another right-leaning politician, I think. So it's not good. The other lady I've never heard, I don't even know, so I can't comment on her, but Andy Burnham is a name that I've seen appear recently who I've not really known about. And he supposedly was on good terms with the LGBT+ community, but apparently recently he's been sort of on the fence about it. So sort of saying the HRC guidelines are good, but also saying they're not good, which is confusing because what even fucking side are you on now? But the crazier thing is, why is Gary even suggesting this to support, again, Labour politicians, when it's obvious that they're not really helping? Like, what is going on? But it's also concerning when, someone like this is in the news, and I'm also reading it now, I'm looking it up on Blue Sky. So apparently he doesn't even believe there's a genocide in Gaza, which is absolutely fucking absurd. Just look online, you can see the footage, you can see the real life, not suitable for life attacks there. It's just fucking horrific. Apparently he's a racist, conscious user. Yeah. But, it's frankly absurd that it's even being suggested to vote one of these losers. Because that's what they are. They are just fucking losers. What else is that? And he says he'd look at removing the exemption allowing Sikhs to carry ceremonial knives in light of Henry Narak's murder. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, because that seems very targeted, that's the problem. It's targeting Sikhs specifically, and apparently I might be wrong about the position I had on Sikhs, which was them being a terrorist state, in that their entire goal is to kill non-believers. But that might be something else, I could have gotten it wrong entirely still. But I don't know. Banning knives is not obviously going to change anything. I think people should be carrying self-defense in public, whether it's a type of like weaker pepper spray or something that just helps. I think it is literally something that we need to have to defend ourselves, at least the vulnerable people. So people who are literally at risk of being attacked, so maybe an autistic person, even autistic children, that's a very real possibility. And also they need to be taught that it's not to be used to attack someone, otherwise they'll go to prison. But yeah, there's probably a way around it. Let's do more post-Zionist, Zionist. What the fuck is that? Water should be nationalised? No. Definitely shouldn't be. Also, is that what that was on Taskmaster? I remember Amanda in the recent episode 9, had a boy's fucking prize task, and now I look at it, the cutout looks very similar to Andy Burnham. Okay, sure. But yeah, again, this is the problem. You're not going to get people voting for Labour when their fucking guidelines hurt minorities. And it's the same with nationalising water. And you know, even though Gary's taken a good stance on currently trying to get into Labour's mind to talk about changing the system to actually have proper wealth tax, even though that's going to be an objectively good thing, whether or not we agree with Labour, we're still going to have to replace them at some point. Because I think a lot of these things are unacceptable. Like West Street thing is obviously not good enough. Obviously most of Labour is just corrupt anyway, we can't discount that fact. There's a reason why Jeremy Corbyn probably jumped ship anyway. I don't know too much about him. It makes full sense why he probably left. So yeah, let's try to see what else. I did vote to see about what? I don't know what it is. Yeah, so I just wanted to respond to this. Basically, it's a very slippery slope to ask people to vote for literal authoritarianism. It's just not good. Even if they do introduce a wealth tax, it is not going to work out, and this is exactly why we have tactical voting. So, you know, as far as I understand it from everything else we've seen, you know, the two positions we really do not want in politics at the moment are drop Labour politicians and reform/restore, same party by the way, MPs. I think everyone else could probably have a good shot at with that sort of thing, but it's just extremely disappointing. The Makerfield poll is concerning. What the fuck is this? 49% Andy Burnham, 39% Robert Kenyon, 8% Rebecca Shepherd, those two, by the way, Reform and Restore, and Zora Wakefield, Green Party, 2%. And the rest, obviously, you can guess, but what the fuck? It's just absolutely nuts. It's just, why? People fucking lost it. Oh wait, what's the water nationalising? I'm starting to think maybe I'm wrong about that. Nationalised water. Oh yes, nationalised, yeah, not I thought privatised, for example. I was wrong about that. Yeah, it's weird. Let's post LGBTQ Labour. Dear Andrew, the polls are clear by the by-election. Markerfield is neck and neck between Labour and Reform, and the stakes can be high. Voters have a clear choice between the self-proclaimed sexist with an alleged history making over which transport economies and the Labour candidate Andy Burnham wants to put our country together. LGBTQ plus Labour will be campaigning against Reform's division on the weekend before polling day, and we want you to join us. I didn't even know that was a thing, but also, why? Labour isn't LGBTQ plus inclusive. Like, what the fuck are you on about? This is the same thing as Republicans against Trump. It doesn't matter what position you fucking have, what you've voted for your entire fucking life. You've been betrayed. You know that the party you've supported betrays you. Fucking go elsewhere. Grow up. It's so fucking dumb. I'm younger than all these people as well. And I've only been into politics for the last year, like seriously been into it. And I realise this. It shows the amount of dishonesty and delusion that people have. So, I would vote for a proper left-leaning politician or party like Lib Dem or Greens, or get fucked. Those are your only choices. Let's move on. I think is it recording? I think it is. I don't think I've updated anyone on the also my use of Vivaldi browser over the past few months, and it's still good, I'd say, but there are some bugs still. I find one of the biggest bugs I find this on the Very Well Health Mind or something. I can't remember the name of the site now. It's often shit though, but I can't scroll on it. There's still sites where it has that shit. I don't know what the deal is. It makes no sense to me. Why is it still a bug? We used to have this on other browsers and it's still here. So you can't actually scroll, and the thing is the scroll bar is completely removed. So I don't know if that's like an extension issue or what. But I suppose there hasn't been anything else really that's been negative about Vivaldi. It's been somewhat reliable. If had one crash in the last few months, I don't know how the crash happened exactly. It's like it stopped working completely. Like froze, but I don't know if that's because of the like another thing, like a background application. Because that's sometimes the cause of it. But it's still a very solid browser, and it isn't pushing AI in my face, which is also one of the big benefits. But I've even found ways to customize it better. For example, I managed to put Control D as my download button as it was in Edge, which is handy, and the F4 will bring up that sidebar, but I don't really use that. Add-ons are still an issue. I'm still looking for an EQ and limiter to help with, well, parsing things. Get through some of the terrible content on the internet. That's still an issue. YouTube Shorts do have a weird bug. I'm not sure if this is a Vivaldi thing or just YouTube. Sometimes it'll just randomly scroll down. I don't know why. I'm busy watching a short and then you'll just scroll down randomly. I have no idea what's going on there. Is there anything else? I swear there was something else though. It's not coming to mind. Whatever it is. So yeah, that is very weird. I'm trying to think there. What else? I swear there is other things, like again customizing is fine. I put the zoom bar next to my extensions because that seems to be very convenient. I hate when it's at the bottom because it's in the way. It covers part of the screen and that's just ridiculous. So yeah, that's why I put it there. What else? I can't really think, to be fair. I still use it on my phone, and honestly on the phone it's not anything special still. But I do find the tabs thing very useful. It seems to be like 95% consistent, I'd say. When trying to access tabs, sometimes it bugs out, and also the YouTube interface bugs out a bit. You can't scroll it when it's the landscape view, not portrait. You can't view the comments on that for some reason. Oh, it used to, not. Oh, no, it's when you actually look at the comments. That's it. So it's very strange. I'm just not 100% sure what the deal is with that. But I don't know if there's anything else with it. I think it's still a pretty underrated browser given everything that it offers. I think if people have been around on the internet long enough and have used browsers for long enough, you'd know a lot of these things. I still encounter issues, like I've wanted recently to be able to save specific images, like for example if you're looking at a manga or a comic book and you want to download the images page by page, because there's no like archive for it, then I think there needs to be an option to just auto-save with 1 or 2 clicks on a specific image. But for some reason that doesn't seem to be an option here, even though it technically has never existed. I do think it's a bit annoying that sometimes a browser can do so many things right and then do something wrong like this, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember if I said, but I managed to get the hibernation mode working, and I just press a button and it puts in hibernation mode. Just press like a Control Q, and that does it perfectly. It's a non-issue there. I'm trying to think what else there is. But yeah, again, as it stands, I think Vivaldi's still a safe option. I think that it's generally a good idea. So yeah, I don't know. But I think I will move on. Well, this is an incredibly dumb thing with the Online Safety Act. However, the Safety Minister is, he's a fucking grifter. He should be investigated and put in prison, because I'm pretty sure he's got something on his hard drive. Anyway, this obsession with children seems to have led to, well, frankly, I need to take my antibiotics, so yeah, where's my thing? Sorry about that. Not really. But no, basically, whoever the Safety Minister is, or the fuck his position is, I guarantee you he's only obsessed with children because of one reason. And that's probably why he's doing all these safety acts. It's to gain the identity, police, obviously, what children is most attractive. And yeah, well, the rest writes itself. But you know, if it isn't that, and the intent is actually true, then it's also a load of bollocks. So, I have to respond to obviously what's been supposedly suggested here, which is, according to Cyberwolf in the article he used, it's suggesting that platforms then need to control what children can and obviously can't play on them, and have to provide identification. And it should spread across games, according to the Safety Minister. And that's just bad news, full stop. Because for children, that is going to be extremely detrimental. I think some of the biggest destructive things in our cultures at the moment are to do with people being sucked in by short form content and the algorithm. And these are the two biggest dangers that we have. Gaming is not the fucking issue. Because if it was, it would have been a problem a long time ago, back when I was gaming. And yes, playing games that weren't suitable for me as well. I'll explain later. But when it comes to the real problem, the real danger for children, it is literally the algorithm. Not social media in its entirety, the algorithm. Anyone who's even remotely technically minded, as any sort of young person would be these days anyway, and as I eventually became one, you know, I used Vista back in the day. I'm hardcore. But as anyone would know, technology changes over time. And on top of that, you need to adapt. So when technology does have those changes, when it is, again, the algorithm that's deciding what you see and what you don't see, that's to blame. If anything, you should be holding these platforms accountable, because they are the danger here. They're the ones creating the problems for the world and for society. Because they're the ones who, like on Facebook and X, are suggesting content from, you know, Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe, Labour's best friends at this point. And that's why this radicalisation starts to happen. Why young people, even like half my age, start to get ideas in their head. And even then, it's not always good, because when those algorithms really take place, when they start to do just more of that thing to you, you start to get even more sucked into it. In fact, I have a recent example on this when I was just getting extremely panicky about the genocide in Gaza and the wars happening in the world, Ukraine and Russia, just how dystopian it all is, the fact that it's happening. And I was having like real fucking almost nervous breakdowns over it, almost like PTSD, I guess. And that's because the algorithms were recommending me things non-stop. It knew that I wanted a new story, and then it gave me that. And the only way I got out of it is by, thankfully, YouTube's recommendations, and also getting off of TikTok. That was another big thing for me. I'd stopped using it when I heard it was bought by the US, and I thought, okay, fuck this. If it's bought by the US government, I do not want anything to do with it. No point. So that's why I'm off those platforms. But that's also one of the big problems as well. Like when a government buys these things, it becomes an issue. But also, if you really want to enforce these safety acts, instead of doing a fine, you need to do a fucking reward system. That's how you do it. It's so idiotic to fine foreign companies for not doing the thing they need them to do, which is regulation. And, if you're not rewarding them or putting bounties up for addressing these big problems, then that's your failure. For something like the algorithm, you need to tell people what they're seeing exactly and tell them what they're not seeing. So, as it comes with politics, if they're only seeing right-leaning sources, they should be seeing left-leaning as well. If they're only seeing left-leaning, they should be seeing right-leaning as well. So, it goes both ways. And that's a harsh reality of the algorithm. Because if you don't have both, then you're just not going to form a great opinion. It's going to fail. And that's again why so many younger people these days are getting radicalised. And they end up getting really deep into shit when it comes to the beliefs they form around these politics, and especially if they don't have good parents or good parenting as well. Let's not forget, some of these young people actually have kids. Believe it or not, some even at the age of 16, but that's another story. But this is the absurdity of social media. That needs to be addressed, not gaming, social media. Because I can almost guarantee you now, when you look at gaming, it accounts for, what do you know, under 1% of actual crimes. Great. And I believe there was actually a study on that as well that actually proves the point. I can't remember what it's called, but this is why you need to look at this instead, not the fucking ideas that are given by the foreign minister of foreign minister. Well, this point he is, yeah. But the safety minister, that's it. But by someone who's actually done the research, who is technologically minded. That's the only way you can form these valid opinions. But as it currently stands, it is an invalid opinion. It is an invalid action. And it's a hell of a hill to die on, but fuck it. The government should be sued for this. And if somebody is, I'm gonna fucking contribute because I'm fed up with this shit. I'm so sick and tired of it, and this ties into my next story about how gaming actually saved my life. Because for quite a few years I've had anxiety since I was a child, and I didn't even know I had it. It developed around primary school when I was about 8 years old. I was hating school, I was being bullied, I wasn't enjoying it. So at home I just wanted to be with my mum and wanted to play games, and that was it. Although my dad didn't really allow games often, which was a really frustrating aspect. I didn't even get my own console until I was 13, by the way, which is a bad parenting in my opinion, but there we go. But that's oh wait, I did get another console before that, I'm wrong. I got a PS2 at 11 years old. I forgot I had that. I played like Sonic and Niche on that, I remember now. But the problem is, without gaming, I would have suffered. I wouldn't have enjoyed life as much as I could have at the time. And gaming was really an escape from, say, the reality, the fact that I didn't like learning, the fact I couldn't learn, which is an important factor here, because my autism didn't allow me to learn that effectively. Even sitting through classes and stuff without a phone, which I was asked not to have, it never worked. It's fucking ridiculous. But this is exactly what I mean. The problem doesn't lie in gaming, it's literally social media and the algorithm, but that's especially true nowadays. We didn't have it back then. Back then, all we had to do was like TV and gaming, back in the 2000s. And it wasn't a bad time until phones started coming out and also started being disruptive. So then the learning process was also disrupted when phones were obviously a thing, and people were trying not to get caught using phones. In fact, it's probably the earliest case I've seen of literal social media over attachment. I won't call it addiction, that's a bit unfair, but an over attachment to it. And you'll see these like 14, 15-year-old girls giggling in class with a phone out, and the teacher's shouting across them, "Put your fucking phone away," and all that fucking shout either way. And yeah, and they'll confiscate it if it got bad enough. Fair enough. I obviously don't fault that. But again, the issues aren't that simple, because it is really one of those things. Addressing it like that is just not going to help. In fact, if you take a phone away, I guarantee you the girls would have probably just shouted rape or something, because literally that's something that they'll do. Like, you forget these are children, but they're also getting older and they're getting smarter. So you can't discount these facts. So there's always dangers to doing these sort of things, like a phone ban. But instead, I think there's a point to setting up rewards and maybe even just like a safe place, or even therapy for sort of a phone issue. A literal detention, but it's like therapy instead. There's ways around it, and I don't know the solution 100%. But yeah, don't really know what else to add. Well, this is the rest of my story actually in gaming. So, at the time I was playing, GTA San Andreas, which was on another PS2 I had actually. It wasn't like my own personal ones, only my mum actually had consoles for me. We also had a Nintendo Wii, but they provided great escapes for just myself and even the family at times. And I played them quite often actually, until I obviously got onto the computer and decided to play games on there. And at that point, I'd moved on from that, and also was experiencing anxiety at school and stuff without knowing until I was an adult I had it. I was playing games on the computer, and it started out simple with Left 4 Dead 2. Believe it or not, that's probably the first ever like proper PC game I played. Like one that you could actually play better on PC, because I played it on Xbox before. It wasn't as fun, but the PC version, I got through that, and then it introduced me to Team Fortress 2 later, eventually Gary's mod, and I got onto other smaller games too, like Portal 2. And my experiences from Team Fortress 2, it being sort of not an MMO, but it is in a way, but many players, and I made a lot of different online friends there, and had so many experiences. And I wasn't at risk of that. In fact, I saw a gay porn spray in that for the first time ever. It was like, I was just on a surf map or something, and some idiot put up the spray, and the spray is like an image you upload, and you also can put it somewhere once. That's how the game works. It was just something you had for fun. You could put anything on it, you could put memes, you could put a photograph of yourself. Just stupid, but yeah, I just remember the porn spree. It's just saying Pain Train. It was like a 5-man orgy, 5 dicks, and in 4 houses. It was nuts. But guess what? It didn't even traumatise me. In fact, I knew I was pansexual before that, when I was 8 years old and having thoughts about children at that time. But obviously, as an adult, you know, it's a lot different, and I do view it in a different way, obviously, because it's obviously wrong to do that in a game for, I'll say, like, for 15-year-olds. But either way, I think that did nothing to me. You know, the fact I still remember it is irrelevant to what it essentially is essentially trying to do, which is just being a funny spray, I think. But, you know, it's one of those things. It didn't do anything to me. It didn't traumatise me. It didn't convert me. It essentially did nothing to change anything. Like, what do I even say here? Because I find it ridiculous that there is a notion that these sort of communications and socialising and interactions in games are apparently problematic, quote unquote. When the reality is not that simple, because, as I said, I've grown up with it, and I didn't end up being a complete prick. I didn't even end up becoming radicalised. Like, I can't even recall any of the worst things that ever happened other than scammers, but scammers are a more niche issue, and I eventually learned how to address them with time. So, again, it's just crazy that we're even in this topic, in this situation, discussing something that has never actually been an issue. Even though I played Minecraft as well, and did multiplayer servers every now and then, and I never got groomed, never. And that's also because people are smart enough not to use mics and use their rage. I was smart enough not to do that, and also I never really given my personal details either. And yeah, that's honestly one of the best ways to protect yourself, is to protect the child on there. And also, it's probably even worse if you're like a responsible adult nowadays. I think you can give advice to the child, like use a pitch shifter, lower the, no, rather increase the bass a bit, and yeah, you know, there's ways to address it and make it safer for children. But that's solely in the hands of parents, because if parents aren't looking out for their children, then that's a big problem. But the safety minister here obviously doesn't believe in parents, hence obviously the other shit I've said about him being obsessed with children. But, you know, it is the parents' responsibility. So you can't expect that lazy parenting will be the what is the issue here? What am I saying? But trying to account for that is ridiculous. Because if people really have lazy parents, then I think that's a sign that you need to deal with it as a government, and you need to help those children, because obviously they're being neglected. I do hear every now and then complaints about parents who, and I have seen this personally as well, but parents who are like glued to their fucking phone. And I do think there is a crisis in that, because parents shouldn't be being glued to their phone when they obviously have children to tend to and they need care and stuff. I think that's kind of ridiculous, although there is a flaw that if you see them walking out and about, that's already a good sign. It's more than what other parents probably would do. But I'm also one of those people who's like really scared for children when I see them walking home from school alone, and it's like, Jesus Christ. As well, just, it feels so dark every now and then. And there's that temptation as well that, you know, I want to help those children, obviously looking out for them from my kitchen window. But that's just because I care. But it seems like parents maybe have to work, so that's obviously one issue. But also, there's no system in place that can even necessarily help these children. Like, there's no bike for some fucking reason. Children can't ride bikes for some reason. Like, I don't get it. Bikes would be far fucking safer and faster for children, because then they can actually cycle away from any potential danger. So yeah, and even though it'll lead to like hit and runs and stuff, for sure, without actual trouble, because it's still better for those who are vulnerable. I wouldn't have survived if it weren't for me being fucking chunky. Because people were scared to pick on me in secondary school when they realised I was chunky, but that's another thing. I don't think an adult would have either. But anyway. So yeah, gaming also taught me a lot about, well, math and English, believe it or not. It taught me about those things, and without it, I don't know what I'd do now. It literally was the thing to kickstart me into that topic and get me not really interested, but knowing of it. And math was like the best part of it, I think, because I couldn't figure out English for the life of me. But in English I could at least form sentences, and that's a great improvement. You know, I couldn't study in primary school. It was only until I got onto Valve games, ironically, that I actually learned English and knew how to write, knew how to read as well, because I didn't really know how to read very well. But I even learned new words and stuff, and you know, it became this thing. It really benefited me. So if you start to remove specific games, like maybe Roblox, or even though Roblox sucks, but if you remove specific games that children play, even the violent ones, you know, you're not going to help. And I think children who are being violent in games, you know, being racist or homophobic or whatever it is, or maybe they're even just idiots and they just use like the dark web and stuff. You know, obviously that should be intercepted, but you should also treat them as you would an adult in that case, because there are adults who ironically do the same thing, sometimes worse. And I think that's probably a big warning sign. I think children need to come out of that with obviously something. They need to come out of it with help and obviously a path for their life. So yeah, they might have an interest in games, but they need to be taught how to be nicer in games. They need to be shown that there is a big world out there where sometimes playing games can be overwhelming and maybe not worth it, but sometimes it can also be worth it as a job. You know, it could be maybe a QA tester or developer. There is some role out there, I can almost guarantee that. And that's the sort of career path you can do. It's also something you can use to help children. But I think also bringing into question like what they know about the world and advice you can give them. It's also equally as important there. So all this money funneled into the Online Safety Act, and they don't even address this problem. You know, if children are really so rude as people say, and they're getting like parents too far on their phone, why aren't you actually addressing the source of the issue? As I said, it's probably short form content. That's why parents on their phones now. Same with children, about the attention span. And yeah, it just seems to be ruining things, but you also can't forget the other thing, and this is almost as big as this. We're in a cost of living crisis. Everyone is suffering, and nobody is really succeeding. That's the reality of it. So, as we are in a cost of living crisis, you need to create equality for everyone. For financial status, for children who are about to go homeless because the child benefit cap has been lowered. And yeah, there's so many problems with this. You cannot expect children to be happy and lead healthy lives when you've set them up for failure. You're the fucking government. You're the one who makes the rules here. And if you're setting children up for failure, then you're as big of an abuser as Epstein ever was. I rest my case. Let's move on to the next topic. Oh god, there's apparently a crappy Netflix show out, which I've seen a video on based, where the channel's called Steve Reviews. I'm pretty sure I've seen this guy's channel before. Anyway, the show is called Mating Season, and it looks awful. I'm already not a fan of the art style, it just doesn't really work for me. And just based on what I've been presented with here in this video, it doesn't look promising at all. It's just, I already knew where I was going with the title one, I just thought, nah. Already that's just not for me, and it's also kind of silly. But also I get the aspect that it's trying to be almost exactly like a, well, real life animals, for the lack of another way to turn it, say it, or but it's just so disappointing to see that another show has just gone this crappier route, and they cancelled Dead End Paranormal Park for this, which is a show I hold in somewhat high regard. Even though it certainly has its flaws, it is a good show. But they've cancelled that and seemingly never come back to it, and obviously got crap like this, and apparently the other show where the kids showing each other's penises to each other, obviously animated, not real. But fuck me, that is something apparently the same creator. But this is a problem. I predicted this many different years ago. What the fuck do I even... I meant like 8 years ago. I said this. I said humour was going to be so dumbed down and shit after trying to find a good movie. Because I had like Amazon Prime at the time. I wasn't supposed to Prime all that. But I was browsing and I looked for comedies, and I just wanted something to have fun with. And so I landed on this French romantic comedy or something. It wasn't actually French. And I fucking hated it in the first episode. First movie, it's a movie actually, the first few minutes I guess. Because all it was sexual humour. It was constant fucking innuendos and garbage. It was so bad. And I'm not even really into romantic stuff either. Even though I wrote for it for a while, I wrote romantic fanfiction, but that's another issue. I'll then pause that now. But my fucking god. I just do not like what I'm seeing here. Because this is exactly what I feared, and I think even didn't Velma, that series, do the same thing? It's like constant sexual references and stuff. Yeah, it's like a strange thing. Sometimes you don't have these like restrictions on your stuff, and as Steve mentioned here, sometimes they don't put rule sets on their series, and one of the points with my own series that I'm writing currently, which actually is animals, an adult animal show, which actually I didn't even know this show was a thing before even writing this, so that was a shock. But I've been writing course groups I think since earlier this year. I can't remember when I actually started it, but it was like a massive change because I went from Events of Turn to this because I felt like Events of Turn, whilst it had good ideas and concepts, I think that could be translated better into a fantasy world with animals. But I think I've got something with the animal concept here with just what I'm doing with it specifically, because I'm specifically trying to make a world with deep stories, maybe not story rich, but there's enough story there, with mystery, with reflections of society, and even just realism, but with animal aspects and animal twists and stuff. But it's more a society than it is animals and instincts. And there's also obviously fantasy played into that. But the even bigger twist actually comes with the aspect of it that I really like, which is mixing sci-fi and fantasy together. So everything's science related, has an equal like magic related thing. As in, if we're looking at something like chemistry, even though you can do that in a fantasy world, it's called alchemy. Instead, it's actually done here with a similar concept. So you have those glass wares and stuff, but everything's like, imagine a lab, but it's all with wood. It's all with stone or cobblestone. Like, there's so many different ways that you can put a spin on it with fantasy, and my favourite example of that is the computer keyboard using mushroom caps as the keycaps. Like, come on. How can you not like that? But it's obviously not the only thing. There are vehicles in this world as well, which I plan on exploring at some point. I forgot to mention it, actually. I'll write that down because I need to talk about it a bit more. But yeah, I suppose like the route the characters take doesn't involve that. Because there's a lot to write here. See, vehicles, yeah. But I've got rules in this as well. So obviously characters are definitely different on case by case basis. There's just a lot of things going on, and the rules, I guess, are to do with how it is society, and there are limitations to each character as well. Also, one of my biggest rules, sorry, that I specifically put in place because of crap like this, like mating season, is I didn't want to be entirely sexual. I just wanted to step as far away as I can from that without a good reason to, without making it actually funny. And in the moments I do try to make it funny, I sometimes feel like I didn't do the job well. Even then, the sexual humour is just a very niche thing. It's going to appeal to some, but not to others, and I almost feel like the sexualisation of this generation that came up around 69, for example, which obviously was quite a few years ago now, they're probably the ones who will be most into this, I think, which is also very disappointing. But that's why I'm glad that 6-7 replaced it. Fuck's sake. I never thought I'd say it, but literally, I'm glad that 69's been replaced. It's the only good thing to come out of 6-7, I think. That's a big positive. I am so frustrated with. Slightly yawning. Oh shit. Yeah, as I'm really frustrated. Just so fucking annoying that shows like this exist, and the rule sets are really easy, and also as I'm writing things, I'm writing the world, I'm writing the purposes that characters have, I'm writing all different things that have an entire character sheet. And I guess it's different because I'm not really a situation comedy sort of person, even though I like them. And I've never really wrote anything like that. I have like character gimmicks here, like I have a Fluffel, Rabbit, strange names. I'm not good with names, so that's a problem. But she's described as a fairly confident lady, obviously a rabbit, with a fair bit of strength and stamina, as well as being speedy. She's open-minded as well as intelligent. Her main property is showing female rabbits can be strong. Yeah. It's a pretty fair goal, and I think that's important as well. Yeah, there's nothing I need to add here. I didn't finish like the character sort of sheet stuff. I need to add something else, like I was so fucking tired. Got sleep. This thing. People just need restraint when it comes to these series, writing a series rather. And you need to understand that they are restraints in place for a reason. Like, I think a great example of that was in Steve's review there of this show, and that was like comparing a Futurama joke to this one. where the joke was actually said that it's said the same way, but it's done differently, and see, unfortunately, Mating Season explained the joke rather than actually, just let it sell. That's just fucking nuts. It's so bad. And when it comes to my joke writing, I have an entire document for these if I ever get to use them, and I just find it can be easy to write jokes sometimes if you know how to make them anyway. Yeah, it's just extremely disappointing to see another show fail. It's just the main thing about this. Trying to think what else. It's also establishing a world and its characters, doing it in a way, and also just filling out the characters as best as you can. I've even got far more lore on episode 7 in mind. On two of the characters like Dilek and Gopher. Gopher or Gotha. I can't remember how I pronounced it now. It's the thing with having so many problems in my life at the moment. Yeah, episode 7. Not even done with it yet, and yet to get to the main point of the part. And that's the thing also, when it comes to stories, that's the other thing with Mating Season. Looked kind of bad, is the stories. It seems to like revolve around relationships and stuff, and I'm just thinking, boy, what's the fucking point? The thing is, with my series, I have the main mystery being that Liat's sister is obviously missing and went through a portal the same way you did and appeared in this strange world. And the entire thing is a hunt for her, but it's also to train and become stronger to understand the world that he's been thrown into. And things just keep going up and stuff. So there's like many different things to address there. And I have like an entire bunch of stories written out, including one that's actually so emotional, I think it's guaranteed to make someone cry. It's actually insane. There's also some great moments as well. Obviously the mysteries around Delhi and Father, and you probably haven't seen these characters yet, that's the problem. I was going to wait until I made some drawings for them, but I'm not 100% sure. I think at this point I just need to make a character sheet for every like mainstay character, but also make it sort of low effort because I don't have the time for this. I can't make artwork, I'm so shit at it. That's the other thing on that show as well. Just had a really weird art style, if it can even be called that. It just doesn't really work for me. There's just quite a few inconsistencies as well, and the underwear thing as mentioned. It sort of ties into the rules as well. In my series, the rule for having clothing is to be of the higher importance, or obviously for like a purpose, like maybe a disguise or so. And the clothing is obviously they're all false, given that they're fucking quadruped animals, is that? Quadruped or biped? I can't remember now. Yeah, quadruped, pretty sure it is. But they're like that. And they wear like cloaks, they wear hats as well. So I'll probably get into it at some point anyway. They wear these things, they even wear armour. So it's just crazy. But how can you not even have these rules? It just makes no sense to me. You have to also think, if you have like access to the show, the video, whatever it is, if you have access to that first episode and you watch it back and you're seeing a lot of flaws in it, then obviously there's an issue here. There's many problems, and I think that itself needs addressing, because you can't be going about having it obviously released the way it is. If you're looking at this, if someone is looking at it, so show it to someone else, and they're saying, oh, well, what about this? Where's the the kind of thing where this, or maybe in the first few episodes, and they do get the explanation, but there's also other things, other questions. You should be trying to get feedback. But I think the other way to make a show interesting is probably not to have the same fucking style of humour or even communicating. In fact, I'm only just exploring with some of the characters in this about their way of communicating. Like Delik is very much almost immediately known as being old, and Gotta, so I'll call him the goat, is a Scottish accent rather, but it's not actually the country that he's from. It is Scotland, but it's backwards, well, sort of backwards. It's a different name. So yeah, it's sort of a reflection of society, and I think episode 7, which I'm up to now, has a fucking insane sort of story to it, which I think I'm pretty happy with, because it's just reflecting current political issues and also just the ways that it could just go horribly wrong or right. I don't know how to describe it exactly. But yeah, so I might as well just upload these series to Dropbox somehow. Well, how the fuck do I even access it? Stuff down there, that's probably it. I do just like a dedicated folder, I guess I do. Yeah, that's part of this. Trying to think. What else do I do here? I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm sort of making things as I go along. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Let's Remake season. It looks terrible. I'm probably not going to watch it ever. I've rather watch Zootopia 2, which apparently is good. So this is something that's come to mind. I'm watching a video by my vegan called Gazo Clean No Longer Vegan, and there is an attitude in the podcast that Gazo Clear is doing, which I feel like is very eerily similar to a lot of other attitudes that I've seen out there. As in, it's a type of attitude that you see from a specific type of person, which is the people pleaser. And I'm not a people pleaser. I'm a fag. As in, a gay person. I can say that because I'm actually pansexual. But I'm not saying it discriminatively. It's a different thing. But anyway, that's why I'm not a people pleaser. I don't really care about pleasing people. In fact, it's about showing kindness and compassion to people. Nothing about pleasing. It just comes secondary. But I notice with people like that, who tend to focus on only pleasing people, is they don't take no for an answer a lot of the time, and I think it is probably one of a somewhat big crisis we're in at the moment. So it reminds me of when I used to actually several tour vocalist is vegan. Okay, I got check that out. It reminds me of when I used to try to care about my mental health, and the one bit of advice I got that really confused me and annoyed me is the fucking thing about, what did I say, fake news? The thing that annoyed me is fake it till you make it, that's it. Just remembered, only. So basically that advice was useless, because I tried it for a while and people hated me even more than my former self, because I was then lying about myself, being myself, and that in itself is a sin, just by virtue of not being comfortable in who I am. Like, I can't say like I'm the best fucking guitarist there ever is, or even just the amount of I don't know, like VST guitarist, like I'm probably the best VST guitarist, probably not. You know, that's the thing, I could just say that and it doesn't sound right to me. You can say I'm the best commentator or I'm the best whatever at this point. Like, and the thing is, some people will believe me and other people will not. And much like myself, people would also believe there is a semblance of dishonesty there and think that in reality this actually is a sort of harmful thing, I suppose. Like, the thing that I'm saying here cannot be demonstrably proven. So we've also got that issue. But people would also just think, oh god, it's a narcissistic trait, and yeah, I don't blame you. It is narcissism, 100%. So, it's just ridiculous. So I don't understand why people want the fake it till you make it mentality, because that just harms everyone. And every time I've seen it done against someone, usually against someone for that matter, it just doesn't do any favours. Everyone I've seen ever coming face to face with these fake it till you make it bros, as I call them, doesn't end up well for them. Ever. Because they end up lying about something, they get into a very horrific domestic situation, which does lead to domestic abuse, because that's where this leads as well, and people just being dishonest and cheating. Complete fucking liars. It's a very common trait. If you exaggerate these things and you can't back them up, you are actually shooting yourself in the foot, essentially. So, it's an extremely bad, not just behaviour to have, but mentality. It is so bad. And that's why I never really followed it. But in the case of this video, the podcast, or whatever it is, I realise I need to charge my watch. Oh no, I need to fucking sucks it. But these people have the same mentality. It's like fake it till you make it. They have this channel where they fake what they're doing, obviously. Weirdly enough, I remember Gasoki's video about what turned him vegan, and it was actually a Gary Yourofsky speech. Things. Just not a very nice person at all. The only good thing you can say about him is that he really gives a shit about the animals. He's proven it. But that's about it. He's not good for humanity, he's not good for even the animals in that sense, because he is in turn just harming the animals. He's not actually good for them. It's just the ones he's rescued. And maybe his voice has reached certain places, but people are unaware. But this is exactly what I mean. There's just so many damn issues here. I mean, you cannot ignore stuff like this. So yeah, it's always sort of a thing. Anyway, the Gary Yourofsky speech. But, speaking about the mentality here, it's... As Gasoki is sort of proving here, it seems to be a people pleaser mindset and fake it till you make it. So one of the things I've noticed is the moment he started going off grid, I noticed a very big change in his sort of content. So everything he was doing was seemingly by the land and for the land, quote unquote, which in itself is all well and good. But if you are murdering animals, it's murder of animals. So that's not good. That goes contrary to, again, a position like veganism, which supposedly he used to follow. So it's just not good on that perspective either. That's ridiculous. I can see how people will take it seriously as a result of that, and also bring into question, like, why do this? Because it is something that's kind of dumb. I just don't understand why you would go from giving a shit about animals to not. In every single ex-vegan case that there's been where this has happened, same thing, by the way, is almost like textbook, same thing. They get tempted by trying another animal product, and then they go back to consuming that lifestyle. But this is what happens when you don't have a good sort of mental fortitude, as I'll call it. Is it fortitude? Hang on, let me look up the word. What is fortitude? Just want to remind myself, strength of mind that allows one to endure pain and adversity with courage. Yeah, literally fortitude. So, I used to be an ex-vegan. Weird story. In 2016, I went vegan for the same speech, actually. Same one, HYPERSKY saw the most important speech you'll ever hear. And it was a very eye-opener. And, you know, it's like one of those things, you get the shock value from it, and it gets you really sort of worried about the state of things. And yeah, I did have sort of nightmares for a while because of it. And interestingly, I met someone online at the same time and sort of hit it off, and became obviously a relationship there. And what happens after that, seemingly, yeah, starting to discuss this very topic, because, you know, we were in a group of fucking friends, and, well, not really friends, idiots, more like, who were quite dodgy in a lot of different ways, like different activities, I'll say. I'm not going to expose what, because it's kind of one of those things, it's confidential, like, yes, it's criminal, but I also think that it's down to the parents, so it's not my responsibility to deal with them. But anyway, we were also discussing about, oh yeah, they're mocking the seal clubbing, that was it, which is another thing. And they knew I was obviously vegan at the time. But yeah, it's even crazier because I was talking with my girlfriend, and she had some things to say about it which I thought were quite thought-provoking, and that she was sounding kind of correct, in all honesty. There were parts of it where I just couldn't disagree. It genuinely made sense, but essentially it sort of didn't in other ways, and I think that became one of the harms in this. And so that led to me starting to doubt my position, because I thought, okay, you're actually kind of correct in this, I can't think of a response to it. You know, this stuff has already happened, so why bother? And that was the mentality of it, and I started to become more of a, I was still vegan, but I was like moving towards the mentality of, okay, maybe it just doesn't matter. Actually, just being part of this is my problem. So I don't have to avoid animals now. So I ended up going back to meat for a while, sadly. And yeah, I do regret it, as anyone would in that situation, I think. So that was a sort of eye-opener in that sense. And eventually kept on that for a while, and then went vegetarian again, because it turns out my body doesn't tolerate meat very well after going vegan. So that wasn't good for me at all. So that was also a very bizarre scenario that propped up from that. It just goes to show that sometimes these cold turkeys, pun intended, it's just not a good idea. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else there was here. But yeah, that's why I went vegan and then stopped. And then, especially in 2020, I started to have thoughts about it again, thinking, okay, why am I feeling guilty about myself when animal suffering is like far worse? When I was like getting stuffed on body chocolate that I had from Christmas, and it felt selfish of me. I felt guilty because I knew what happened to dairy cows, and that sort of memory stuck with me. And I started to realise that actually I could be wrong about my position. Critical thinking in me was actually doing something, and with what little critical thinking I actually had back then. So, you know, it made a difference having this literal experience of seeing all this, seeing all the cruelty and the industry practice. And that made me think, like, maybe I'm wrong about my position, because if this was something that could be done by the government, why hasn't it been done now? Started researching, looking into debates rather, and then doing them. And eventually I just became convinced. I was like, okay, you know what, vegans have got it right. And I'm wrong. And people need to fucking admit that. People need to just admit when they're fucking wrong. And that's one of the most pathetic things I see on a daily basis when it comes to rebuttals to the vegan position, or animal rights position mainly, is that people can't justify it. And for the amount of times that I've tried to, I could not. In all honesty, there was nothing. And this is what I mean by people need to say no as well. So when it comes to, say, having offers of, like, you know, non-vegan food or non-vegan products or even anything else, you just have to learn to say no. And one of the biggest examples of this that happened recently was M. So M, for anyone unaware, was an abusive housemate I lived with in a house before this, who threatened to kill me multiple times and was also, quote unquote, a vegan, which I seriously doubted at one point or another. He was often watching things by Nutrition Facts and Mike the Vegan, but seemingly didn't seem to give a shit when it came to social life. So he often justified consuming animal products with friends, fiancés, or whoever, just because it pleased them. And that was fucking ridiculous. And he also had the fucking goal to give me a leaflet by Viva, which is a UK animal rights charity, or organisation rather, not charity. And that was ridiculous. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Why? Like, seriously, it's so fucked. But he uses to justify it, and he'll get things like creatine and anchovies as well, which are fucking horrific. He's like, had some of the worst fucking habits for, you know, consuming animal products and just trying to justify it too. And it's the exact same thing the moment he's offered something. It's like, oh, you're giving me the milk chocolate, oh great, thanks. Whereas I'd be like, sorry, I can't have this, it's milk chocolate, I can't eat milk. And that's not incorrect. That is actually the correct thing to say. In that situation, like, you can't eat chocolate because of ethical reasons, yes, but also there are physical reasons too. On the fact that I actually have dairy intolerance, but I didn't know I had the diagnosis until I was getting into check out my bowel issues, and, you know, even though I don't have any dairy at all, I haven't had it in over 6 years now. It just goes to show. Sometimes you can just say these things and you'll be fine in the end. I think people who think that it's obviously all for show is fucking delusional. People do legitimately have these problems. And, you know, ignorance is bliss in that sense, but also it can be hell. You know, what was that show I saw recently? I think it was actually Spike's Family. Ignorance is bliss, but it can also be hell or something. I can't remember the exact line. Yeah, that's literally what it is, though. Also just harms yourself and it harms animals when you encourage a behaviour like that, like get the let nothing go to waste sort of narrative, but at the same time you do have to make a stand, if possible. So there are ways to stop wasting things, but you also have to be able to not accept things for what they are, who's offering them. That's also partly a narrative about corruption as well. Like, you might be given one of the most expensive chicken kormas in the world, for example, which used to be one of my favourite dishes, obviously before going vegan and vegetarian. And, you know, it might be the tastiest thing you've ever fucking had. It might be the tastiest thing you'll ever see. And someone might give it to you for free, saying, I just have it. It's on the house. Except it's not actually on a house, but that's another story. But yeah, they'll give it to you for free, and you have the option to eat it or not. And in my case, I wouldn't eat it. I don't want to be tempted by that. And that also takes a hell of a lot of courage, and that's what I mean by mental fortitude. You do need that defense system to be able to address this, and I think it's very weak when people let meat cravings and stuff get through, when the obvious alternative is to remember animals do suffer as a result of those actions, to consume animal products, obviously. And another thing is that you just don't need these things. Oftentimes if you get gifts like dairy chocolate, which I unfortunately have had before and still think I do have to this day, you just give it to someone else. Simple. I'm both lucky and unlucky to have people who are not vegan in my life, and fortunately they can take on the things that I can't. I don't really have the stomach to do. But also because it's already been done for, this is a thing that, because it's already paid for, it's better to give it away to someone rather than chuck it away. And this is also a highly contentious point with, I think, the vegan community. I think with some of those things you need to actually be able to give it away to someone, because especially nowadays with the food banks and stuff, you don't really need it, and also you're just contributing to the system. If you throw away that chocolate, if you throw away, like, say, I don't know, what's like a non-vegan snack? It's surprisingly difficult. I guess Doritos, but not the best example. I'm trying to think of something meaty like pork scratchings, but they're tiny. So I don't know. Imagine you've got like an extra portion of like fish and chips or something. Like, rather than fucking give it away, you can put it in the fridge possibly, and give it to someone the next day, or give it to someone on the street. Like, there's some way to do it, or even just decompost it. But it's better to give it to someone so that they don't then put more money into the system. It replaces a meal aspect, because someone's obviously bought two, but you know, you're contributing one when you let someone go free who hasn't had a free meal, and they're going to buy a new one. So it's like almost the same thing but worse, because now there's three people. So when you throw it away, there's three people who bought that meal, so obviously one person bought two of them, an extra one for some reason. And yeah, like, that's just how it works, from what I understand. But it's like one less problem in that sense, and that's the most ethical way to go about it. It's like min-maxing the ethical beliefs as much as you can here, in a weird way. But it's fine to mess up every now and then, because sometimes you're just not aware, and sometimes, you know, you just get into the wrong crowd and stuff, as I did. Again, mental fortitude is extremely important when it comes to that, when it comes to sticking to your guns, and even just listen to your heart. That's literally what it's about. It's just bad when you get ex-vegans like this who do not do any of that. They think because they're of internet fame and fortune, and they have lots of money, they don't have to fucking care. That's what it seems to be to me when I see these ex-vegan accounts. They've obviously got the influence of sphere, and think they can get away with these things, and get away with saying whatever. It's like Gazoki was also, I think, an anti-vaxxer for a while, at least with COVID, and a lot of that is just, it's so fucking dumb. It shows how easily coerced he can be and stuff, and how easily he's convinced, and that was like the biggest warning sign of this. And I believe it was like a Joe Rogan podcast actually that he saw this from, he shared, and I think he even made a comment on it if I'm not mistaken. But you know, this was like the biggest warning sign, because this is a problem with sourcing as well. People don't always provide the evidence. They say these things and then it doesn't get proven. I didn't even know what the context was at the time, so I had no reason to believe it. I said, like, okay, but where is this? Where is it? And literally nobody proved it. So I didn't see the proof. And I couldn't believe that until, obviously, recently. I did find out, but I was also going off of Gaz Oakley anyway because of just the weirdness in his content, the weird double standards. He, for some reason, hangs out with people who don't really consider plant-based farming something of any good. I see them with animal products and stuff, and also doing really weird things, like I think, like, what was it, like, I swear there was something really cruel with, like, insects, but I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the chicken that's acting as a pesticide. I think that's generally okay. It's just the food chain, sadly. I don't know. There was something controversial there, I remember. But yeah, as I said, this is the world that you bring as well. You reap what you sow. And if we have tons of Gaz Oakleys walking around, and also same with ex-vegans out there, it's just going to be the same thing. Because as long as people don't have this mental fortitude, they don't have any fucking legs to stand on. Then they're just going to collapse under any sort of pressure or whatever it is at this point. Just in the face of any sort of is adversity the term? I don't know. Me not good with English. It's impossible to know every word in the language, especially as I never really got taught it. Just couldn't focus in my classes. Everything I've learned is pretty much online. Fun fact. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say, but that's about it, I think. So let's move on. So yes, I've seen the clip and I've seen the news. It's about politics, and it's probably one of the bigger sort of news stories in a way. So Iran are firing on Israel. To nobody's surprise. I'm not sure if this is the first time they've done it, but props to them, I guess. Because I'm so fucking fed up of these wars and also what Israel thinks is a ceasefire. And objectively speaking, a ceasefire is ceasing fire. So that means no firing of anything. But cleverly, Iran are playing by Israel's rules and are instead doing their own ceasefire. And as we know, with Israel's ceasefire, they obviously completely, I forgot the term, completely go against that and obviously open fire. So it's absolutely fucking insane. Like, what the fuck is just going on here? It is just insanity. Like the fact that Iran can play by Israel's rules as well, just so entertaining to see. Because I hate to treat war like it is a fucking game or even a comedy sketch, but at this point, it is just a fucking satire. Iran are definitely not in the wrong for violating a quote-unquote ceasefire when there was no ceasefire to begin with, from especially Israel or US. So it's just absolutely fucking absurd. So yeah, just can't believe this shit. To be honest, it's absolutely insane. Just absolute nonsense. So yeah, I don't really know what else to add, to be honest. Just, I thought this was funny, entertaining. For some reason, I'm getting really big deja vu, which is fucking creepy. I swear this is the first time I've talked about it. Yeah, what the hell? I'm literally just seeing the same post. What the fucking... Okay, for that. Yeah, I'm reliving a memory. And then maybe the Great Heat Death will come before World War III, hopefully. Who knows? Anyway, that's move on. Well, I never thought I'd be saying this. I think Xbox may be back, which is kind of fucking insane. And I think what also helps here is probably the age of this person, but Asher Sharma came into Xbox as the new, what was it, CEO? Yeah, CEO. And she was already sort of showing red flags from the core AI aspect that she had behind her, the Microsoft Core AI product, whatever that is, because there doesn't seem to be any information on it, which is a bit weird. But I found it interesting that she's actually made a statement here, apparently, on the Wikipedia. Didn't even realise, sourced obviously. In a statement of following our appointment, Sharma said has promised to recommit our core Xbox fans and players and not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Under Sharma, Xbox lowered the price of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and winding down the development of Codebot on Xbox consoles and on the Xbox app. She received praise from IGN for the price cut and discontinuing This Is an Xbox marketing campaign. Yeah, those are good, obviously, but there is only one problem with this, and that is that she said soulless AI slop, so there's no guarantee that she's not going to keep it in somehow. As in, like, obviously enforce and like types of AI, whatever it is. But that essentially means that there's still a possibility that AI slop can get into the system somehow. Not 100% sure how that would be possible, but it probably is somewhere. Probably somewhere missing. Something I'm missing, rather. So there's always that worry, there's always something that's going to be looming over our head, I think. But obviously with this recent story, which is insane, there is honestly a worthy cause of saying, good job. Seriously. I've never seen someone do this before. And that's really saying something, and maybe it's just because I haven't heard the stories before, if there are any like this. But this is just insane. So, basically, as she said, she's recommitted to bringing back fans and players alike, and they've announced a limited edition console, the Xbox Series X 25, to celebrate 25 years of Xbox, is it? I can't remember how long they've been around for now. But what this is, I'll look it up, Xbox Series X 25, is a see-through fucking console. I'm pretty sure I had one of the original Xboxes that was see-through, and also one of the controllers, which broke very easily, sadly, but holy shit. This is just amazing. Like, what the hell? As long as it's done well. Although, to be fair, it looks like it's skin based on the images. Just a bit annoying it's not showing the actual components, but it's still a cool idea either way. I just hope they execute it well, because this can go wrong, and there is a press thing. It doesn't look 3D though. Some reason I have the ability to tell when there's depth and not depth. I don't know what the deal is with that. I've got really bad eyesight, so I don't know why I can even identify that shit. So obviously it's going to have to be executed pretty well if they do it. But even with this aspect in mind, it still kind of does its purpose anyway, assuming that people tear it down and they actually see the components of what they are. But I also have to commend the fact that there was an Xbox Fan Fest, I believe, I can't remember what it's actually called now. And she's actually given away free to every fan there, free Xbox Series X 25s. What the fuck? And how much is an Xbox Series X? Like, seriously. Xbox Series X price. In the UK, 1TB version is £499, so maybe it's not the highest amount, or is it? I don't know, they're all 1TB, so I don't know. But wow, that is absolutely fucking incredible. Like, not just the fact they're releasing a very nostalgic looking console, and admittedly, can be cheap when they obviously exploit nostalgia like this. But I can really only give this credit because it's something that no one else is doing. I don't even know if Sony did it. I made like Sony Anniversary Edition console, so let's see. There's like a grey pattern PlayStation 5, I believe, which is kind of cool. That's also like a nod to the first ever console. But you know, that's cool. But they didn't give anything away, did they? I don't think they did. I remember having a PS1 actually, it's my dad's. I played some very strange games like that. There's Crash Bandicoot, which is kind of fun, Crash Racing as well. And there's also War Games Defcon, which is a very unknown but gold game. It's very unusual that nobody knows it. It's pretty cool. It's way different for a game. It's like a real-time strategy, but you play the role, although individually. It's still kind of a cool aspect. So yeah. You know, as I said, if they keep this up with Xbox and Ashishama keeps doing the right calls here, you know, lowering the prices and stuff, and given her age, as I said, like she's I think 36 years old, so she did grow up around the generation, at least part of it, having consoles. So that's also something that's going for her, like just born in, wait, let me do the math. 1990, yeah. So she did grow up around consoles, which is just insane to think about. And 7 years older than me, but it's also refreshing to have someone who's not even necessarily that old in a position like this. Because you get a lot of arseholes in this sometimes, and they're often old people. But, you know, other than that, I think as long as she keeps making the right moves, not just like bloody PR stunts and shit, I think there is a lot of hope for Xbox in the future. I think if we go back to a time where we improve on obviously the Xbox Live situation, we're probably going to be back. And obviously the rebranding as well, I forgot to mention this, I saw this on this is a meme in internet culture. It's talking about the way that they're changing the logo back from a simpler one to a more characterized one, which is also just fucking insane. Like, what? Like, it's kind of crazy. They're actually doing the right things here, and likewise they're getting praise for it, which is good. And again, it has to be demonstrated. That's just the big thing here, because if they don't demonstrate it, they've completely failed the point. Failed to make a point here, rather. But yeah, honestly, a bit hopeful now for Xbox, and given that Valve's just had quite a few L's recently, it's also a good sign. You know, you need that competition in a way, not necessarily the console wars, but competition. The one thing I will say that I still do not like about Xbox one bit is console exclusivity. I saw on a PC Gaming Master Race, I believe it was, subreddit. What game was it? Was it Gears of War? I have a feeling it might be Gears of War. I can't remember, but they announced a game and said it would be a console exclusive, only on Xbox Series X and PC. Like, oh, alright, phew. But it's not good enough though. So the problem there is, obviously it's a console exclusive, but not to, say, PlayStation, Nintendo, so it's only their platforms, which I feel is kind of a bit scummy in a way. I'm not a fan of that, but still, it's a step in the right direction either way. And also the fact they are just putting it on PC as well. Like, Sony doesn't even fucking do that. I'm not sure if it's because of like a stupid contract or something that Xbox has, which honestly they need to scrap. I think if they're stopping Sony from properly uploading shit to the platform and obviously making things for PC, at the moment it comes out on PlayStation, then something needs to be done there. Obviously I think there's a big legal issue, and if Asher Sharma can actually just accept, okay, maybe we'll get more wins if we actually allow Sony on for a brief time. So yeah, well, not even just a brief time, just all the time. There's still a lot of things to figure out here, I believe. Either way, I think it's headed in the right direction. There's not really much else to say. Just hope that other companies follow suit, and we also head for more of an affordability aspect of Xbox, which would be amazing. You know, I wouldn't have gone a Xbox console ever, thinking if I had to. But even then, it's kind of not really worth it anymore. Like, PC just seems far more superior in just different ways. There's a lot more going on with PC, at least. You can do a lot more things with it, modding. Sometimes I keep getting these shakes or jitters and all that, something random. Put my head on that. I was wanting to put my tablet away. Stop drawing. Did I even pause it? No. Okay. I think there's something wrong with my head. Anyway. Yeah, just wanted to commend this, so let's move on. Well, I just finished the Scarlet Indigo disc OST. Yeah, I'm quite surprised actually. It was decent, but it wasn't perfect, to be honest. I think it was a bit lacking compared to the base game. Just found areas weren't as good as they could be, but there were some decent tracks. But it's like, I think there was like 46 in total, because there were some random tracks with no names, and when we count them, also some effects. So maybe actually it's like, realistically, the amount of tracks was probably about 30, 35. And I liked, how many? Let's see, 8. So 8 out of 35, not bad. Still around 25%. That's not a bad like rate for me. Yeah, it's certainly decent in areas, but it apparently references some older tracks, which again, kind of on the fence about, but at least they were good tracks. There's an interesting reference to Vivaldi in, I think, the Blueberry Academy track. It's written by Toby, I believe, Toby Fox. I could be mistaken. But there are other tracks which reference other things, which was surprising. There was a track called, is it Relic Story? I'm probably misremembering, but one of them was a reference to Kiss from a Rose by Seal. Huh? It's so bizarre. You can't unhear it. And then another was a literal reference taking a literal tone from Persona, I think. It's actually fucking weird. It's crazy. Like, what the fuck? It's so bizarre. So yeah, I just wasn't expecting that. It just got me off guard with that. But it's fine, like, in terms of instruments, in terms of composition, it was generally good. I can't really fault it too well, to be honest. Like, it's just one of those things. It's just another soundtrack, another one possibly worth paying attention to, and it's just one of those things. I think it's worth listening to if you're probably a fan. I think if you're not, it's probably not. So it's hard to say. Yeah, I just find it interesting though, listening to these soundtracks. It's good to finally get another one done, because I've still got quite a few things to listen to online now. But next I'm going to do one of the most daunting ones yet, which is Mario Kart World. Pray for me. There's recorded this playlist. Wait, let me double check. Oh, it goes up to 200. 352 tracks. Again, save me. But it probably includes like transition music and stuff, so probably shortens it a bit. But I saw that like the full upload or something was about 10 hours, which is insane. What the fuck? Are you supposed to listen to all that? That's just crazy. But I'll give it a shot. I remember trying before when it initially released, and it wasn't really out there yet. It wasn't fully out there, so it's just impossible to do. Back when Mario Kart World originally released, sort of looking forward to it in a way, but not really in others. It's just I heard a track from site recently, and it really made me think like, is the track soundtrack of others this good? Because I remember being a bit on the fence about Mario Kart 8, and hearing one of the tracks from here was surprising. I generally didn't expect that, so I'll give it another shot, I suppose, and see where that leads me. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the soundtrack for Pokemon Scarlet Violet Indigo disc. Let's move on. What a nice way to end this fucking podcast. A bit of nostalgia. I just got reminded of it for some reason. I think there's like a image for a thumbnail on YouTube videos. I'm not listening to the Mario Kart soundtrack, and the thumbnail is a part of the video which is saying Airship Fortress, and immediately I thought, wait a minute, why is that bringing back a memory? A core memory that I used to have when I played Team Fortress 2. It turns out it's one of the few rare maps, much like Mario Kart map, but it's different, and it's actually so unique that I'm surprised it hasn't seen a revival. But the map was called Balloon Race. My god, what a fucking blast from the past. I actually need to look at gameplay, because I remember so much from this, like trying to get on top of the spawn, trying to get to enemy spawns as well, because it's like separated. I think you could even like destroy parts of the map if I'm not mistaken, including balloons. But the most coolest part of it is that obviously it's a race, but you could also board the enemy, and you have to like take a control point, I believe, by racing. Also, there's a 100-player medieval balloon race, which looks interesting. If that's even a thing. Yeah, is this real? Medieval and balloon race. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, but let's see what this is. It's from HYPERSKY. Oh god. That doesn't bode well for a name. Let's see. Let's go. Yeah. This is nuts. I remember the spawn and stuff, like just setting up and stuff, and you have to stand in front of the wheel to move it. I remember all these tricks. I remember engineers and stuff putting buildings in the cabin. God, the chat is fucking chaos. My god, I didn't see the spawn setup, I skipped ahead. Yeah, here it goes. So spawn's opening. Portals are opening, you can shoot through them now, I believe. Not mistaken? No. You have to go around. But yeah, you can board it by going on the fucking ladder. This is such a blast from the past. It's actually kind of insane. You can shoot through the windows too. It's just always so fun. It's glitchy, but it was fun. That's the point of it. And it's such a big map too, which makes it so unique. And you know, one of the other extra great things about it is obviously you can teleport onto the balloon, I believe. So like after you die, you choose where to spawn, and you can just go back onto the balloon right away. And then you have to capture the control point or something here. Capture the treasure or something. I'm not sure if both teams need to be there. I think it's just one. But yeah, as I said, it's just such a blast from the past. It's so unique. Do they ever get moved on? Yep, I remember this area. The fucking canyon bit. It's such a blast from the past. It's insane. I remember a floating area. Oh, that's a control point. Yeah, there it is. Reminded me a bit of another map. I can't remember, or another game rather. Can't remember what game it was. Maybe Doom Eternal for some reason. And then a desert area of the last, but depending on the game mode you'd have, it can loop around. So there were cases where the balloons would just loop around the map instead of stopping the capture. Not sure if it was a bug or what. Yeah, such a blast from the past. It's so fucking insane. I'm happy to see people still playing it, but yeah. As I said, it's very interesting. I'm surprised to see that be a thing. Such a underrated map, but the only problem is obviously it's so wide open that it only benefits anyone with like actual fast long range weapons. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a rocket launcher is useless, except it is. But if you use something a bit smarter, like maybe Liberty Launcher or Direct Hit, you'd probably have a chance. And demo, I don't know, lock and load, probably the best option because of the extra projectile range. Yes, I somehow remember that. Sticky bomb launcher, not bad either. You can charge it, although it takes longer to do, but it's all less effective. And really the effectiveness of classes become problematic there as well, because spies are just useless. This is somehow a god with the ambassador, or even somehow managed to get stabs and use the diamond back. Or you just sneak onto the ship. You know, you cloak and dagger whilst it's stopped, you return a reward and you're good. You'll probably survive, or even just kunai. There's probably some ways to make it effective, and Scout is just useless. You can't do anything as Scout, but wait, actually yeah you can. It's risky, but you can push people off with the short stop if you can jump along. And that'll be funny. Because that's a recent change. So I remember using these maps as well to try and get achievements, I believe. I think one of them was obviously that Sandman achievement, where you had to get a stun from a long range distance. I think a lot of players tried it for that. But again, what a blast from the past. Yeah, Pyro is almost useless on this, except Detonator is good and Scorch Shot. Yeah, I just felt like sharing that. It's a core memory unlocked. You know, I've already done like Prop Hunt versus Saxton Hale. What's the other one? Surf, that was it. And I also did try a bit of Death Run, but I fucking hated it. I also did Pro Surf at some point. Yeah, TF2 has so many different memories for me. There's just crazy amounts of stuff going on there. You know, back when community servers were a thing, that was just all we played, and that was all anyone ever played. It's kind of a shame that they got rid of them. I wish there was like a browser, but for community servers that were pluginless, maybe, or maybe have it approved plugins. That's probably a thing. It's probably like safer that way. But yeah, I think that needs to be brought back. That's for sure. I remember it used to be a thing, didn't it, though? It used to be actual quick play, and it put you in one of these random servers, although not always good because it had the premium benefits. So also there's like a criteria of things to avoid and stuff when it comes to those. But I think for the most part, you know, it's something that's probably needs to be revived. Yeah, that's a fun memory. So that's about it for the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.